more specifically, I think what everyone knows the most is ChatGPT. You can now use this to change parts of your day which are so tedious. It takes up like days at a time. You can just ask this to do it for you. Whilst I've been a champion of its ability to come out and tell you all these wonderful things, it is also really happy to tell you these wonderful things, even if they're not technically right.
But there's also the problem, which I've heard people talking about, of like deep fakes and like people pretending to be expert.
I've got a question. If you were in school now, would you be using it?
Lads, I'm fully using it. I'm using it now. You know what I mean? Like...
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2. Episode 3, episode 2. Eventually, we'll get away from that and we'll literally just call it episode 2, even though there's 3. But anyway, how are we, Sam? Are we back again?
I'm not bad, right? I'm not bad, lads.
What have you been up to?
Not much, lad. I was just talking to you before, saying last week, man, I was just done, you know. Like that January rush had left me. That like early year motivation that you've got, getting the gym, you know, smashing everything. Last week, at some point, I just thought, yeah, that's.
But lad, it happens though.
You know
but it happens
mean?
though, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like that's when it gets hard. When it fucking.
Getting up and going to the gym in Feb doesn't feel the same as getting up and going on on Jan 4th.
When you're like, yeah, need to change my life.
You're thinking, yeah, by the end of January, I'm going to be ripped. Yeah, February's come. I'm still fat. So,
yeah, I know that feeling.
Lose your motivation a little bit when you go.
I've still got it, me. So because you give me a plan, didn't you, for the gym?
Yeah, man.
So I've been, as I say, since the last time I've been going. Can't really tell much, but feel better than myself.
I can tell, lad. You look slim.
Been going like in the mornings and that, but like this is a proper like. There's definitely no science in this, by the way. But I you know what there might be, but I read it somewhere. You know, you read it somewhere and you can't remember where, so you just take it as
that's
fact.
your quote.
Yeah.
They say.
As someone said. So someone said basically your cells in your body start dying at 27.
Oh,
so that's when you technically decide to die. Technically decide to die. Technically
one day they go, all right, Ryan, your time's up. We're dying now.
But yeah, so I when I turned 26 last year, I was like the heaviest. I got pissed all year. I went, right, I'm fucking jumping on it.
The best year yet, though.
But then November and December came round and I didn't jump on it. I was like, I'm gonna be healthy by 27. So you give me that, and
you're sticking to it, lad,
I'm sticking to it. It's been
telling you now, guys. You see Ryan next summer, he's gonna be
slightly slimmer.
He's gonna be like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, man. He's gonna be ripped.
What, on steroids?
Except he's not 6'4", so
allegedly. Before we get sued, before we even started.
No, but lad, you're right. It's but I've seen that, lad, after 27, that you technically start dying, and I've also seen, especially for males, I'm not sure what it is for females, but testosterone is at its highest at 25, and then after that,
just down.
It just becomes less and less. So that means you can technically not be
as good as you
could have been at 25.
It's fucking out. If my peak was at 25, I may as well just go now.
Your peak was 25.
If I can't go up from 25, it's game over. Shit, hell.
No, but when you do air info like that, though, you shit yourself. You're like, fuck, I'm 25 now. Apparently, this is my peak, and you take your top off, and you're like, this is not peak.
I look like a snowman.
My peak years look like a fucking snowman.
Honestly. But yeah, once again, back filming in one of our favourite places, one of the best craft ale pubs in Liverpool. I was about to say, what are you drinking again? But you're on the coke, so you're taking it more serious than me.
Guys, yeah.
I've got the willpower of a doorstop. So I'm on a beer, and it is a Brew York. Oh, lad, I forgot it again. Ryan
always does this. He goes downstairs, asks for a beer, asks for the name so he can quote it, and give the pub some publicity.
Cocoa, something. Lad, fuck it. Right, just Google Brew York stouts that begin with a K.
That's what you're drinking.
Yeah, but it's like this coconut, vanilla, cocoa, chocolate stout, like milk stout. It's very
did have my first beer the other day because I did dry Jan, didn't I?
Yeah. What did you have? This is the question.
A bottle of Tiger beer.
Tiger's not bad.
Went for the Chinese, lads, in
Tiger's
Liverpool,
not bad.
and I got a bottle of Tiger beer. But lads, like once you haven't had the flavour for a bit, it doesn't hit as well. I don't think.
You are absolutely mental.
But you're a proper beer, and like I drank it and I was like, this isn't hitting as good for me, no.
I did a week without a beer the other day. I've been in the gym. I've been good all week.
Worst week of my life.
Worst week of my life. Lad, then Saturday came round and I just had a beer out the fridge and I went, fucking hell, that's game changing now.
Yeah, I love
that changed my life. Right, so enough about us anyway, talking about beer and the gym, and me talking about beers that I can't remember.
Talking about how unfit we are.
I know, yeah. What are we talking about today then, Sam?
We are talking about chatbots, man. It's been a big topic over the last few weeks and months, hasn't it?
Yeah, more specifically, I think what everyone knows the most is ChatGPT. So, one, we want to talk about it because it's very interesting.
Causing a stir, we can say it.
And two, it's good for the clicks.
Yeah, it's good for the algorithm.
It's good for the views. So, yeah, so the more I've been reading into it, the more interested I've been getting. And not so much from a technical point of view, because I don't use this type of machine learning day to day, so I don't really know. I've got an idea of what they've done, but I don't know the ins and outs. It's more like what it's going to do to everyone.
But our interest in ChatGPT, I always get mixed up with the acronym. It did come at first. We just started using it when it was first. Well,
I messaged. Wait, before we get into this, actually, I suppose, what is ChatGPT?
Yeah, people be thinking, what the fuck are they going on
so
about?
Basically, it's if you haven't heard of it, it's been everywhere. It's a artificial intelligence model that they train, so a large language model that basically you give it a prompt, it reads the prompt and then generates new text in like a actual conversational style, and like gives you an output that is like competent type thing. So you can ask it a question, it'll then give you an answer. And then what's good about this one, or more specifically ChatGPT, is that you can keep chatting with it and deep and go right into like what you're trying to ask it. So basically you can ask it a question, it comes back with an actual answer.
And it's all based on pre-collected
data at the minute.
Yeah.
That they've trained.
Or the model was trained on. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sweeping the internet, like it's everywhere I've read. Just this new piece of software that is changing how people are going about the work, their lives, everything.
Because I seen they were calling it reinforcement learning with human feedback, was it?
Yeah. So from what I kind of understand,
the name that they give it.
So what I kind of understand about how it works is that I think we kind of briefly mentioned in an earlier episode it was either 0 or 1. There's only been fully 1 or 2.
In one of the other two.
I was 50% going to get that right.
50% chance of picking the right episode.
I'd have defo picked the wrong one. So the idea with it is, so you've got supervised and unsupervised learning. So you train with labels or without labels, so it learns stuff automatically, or you guide its learning. Reinforcement learning, from what I understand, again, by far, nowhere near an expert.
You said to me you was an expert.
Is that how I got the job? Is that how I got here? No, I think we should preface this episode as well that like this is very much what we've read an opinion thing. Like we're not experts in this. Yeah. So like we're giving it from like a TLDR, like too long didn't read, top level on the technical side, and we want to delve into more like later on into more like what we think about the technology itself. Yeah. So reinforcement learning, from what I understand, is it trains in a way where it gets rewarded for doing good things and penalised for doing bad things. So then you can teach it to... So if you keep rewarding it for doing the good things, it learns the behaviours that got to the good thing, repeats it, and then gets good. So people use it for example, a really simple example is people have trained it for Atari games like Pong. Yeah. So you reward it if it bats the ball back, penalise it if it doesn't, and then eventually you get a reinforcement learning algorithm,
which is impossible to beat.
Yeah, because it's perfect. So basically, this is taken directly from their website,
and that's how they learn. Like you get algorithms learning chess, isn't it? Because they know the moves, they've been reinforced with the correct moves.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
The most successful moves then pay off. So
and then with chess is a whole different kettle of fish. Yeah. That's mental.
A bit more complex than Pong.
I tried reading into that and I was like, I've not got the time for this. I'll do it later.
Not got the time.
Never got around to that one. So it's reinforcement learning, but it also uses supervised and unsupervised learning.
So what's the human feedback?
So basically, the first step in the training is they collect demonstration data, and train using a supervised policy. So what that means is a prompt sampled from the prompt data set, so that all the stuff they've collected is passed to it. A labeler demonstrates the desired output behavior, and then this data is used to fine-tune GPT 3.5 with supervised learning. So GPT 3.5 is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
GPT 3 was their old model, which, for those who want to know the difference, 3.5 is a bit better in how it works, and that has the conversational approach where you can ask it a question, gives you an answer, and then you can ask it to refine its question, whereas the original one, I believe you asked it one question and it gave you an answer, and then that was it.
So there is an element then of the people who are working at OpenAI of humans refining,
it has to be. So then
ranking the answers to questions.
Then the second step is then it collects comparison data and a training reward model. So then a prompt and 7 model outputs are sampled, and then they get a human to rank the outputs from best to worst, and then that data is used to train, like the reward thing that we were trying to say. So if you get one close to so if the model predicts something which is close to the best response from that prompt, it gets a reward.
And the humans are deciding what the best response is.
Yeah, but I think it's more so the flow of the English itself. So it's a human-like response.
So it feels like a human. Yeah. So there'll be, I get it.
And then it's optimized using some reinforcement algorithm. It's called PPO. I have no idea what that means. As I said, it's not
just an acronym that will let slide.
It's just an acronym that has gone over my head as soon as I've said it. So then they get a new prompt from the data set. Then the PPO model is initialized, using that supervised learning they said earlier.
Yeah.
So where the person has wrote a response and the model's learned from that. And then the policy, it generates an output. Then based on the labeling system, that reward system, they've got that reward function. Use it to calculate the output. Then using the reward, it updates the model and fine tunes and all the rest.
And that's how it continues.
So as far as
it's like one big loop. Then it can continuously iterate and improve.
If you want a simpler version of that, it just basically has billions of parameters, so different things it's trying to learn and tune, and it learns from petabytes. So everyone's familiar with gigabytes, yeah. Then you've got terabytes, which is the one up from gigabytes, which is like 1,000 gigabytes. Then you've got petabytes, which is 1,000 terabytes. So in other words, it's a lot of fucking words. So that it learns from all these words, which was collected from the internet up until 2021. And then that's how they've generated this model through that training.
I wonder how many humans were involved then in all the rankings.
Must have been so many.
Like in order to get a good...
Scientific. Must have been
so many. No, but you know what I mean? In order to get an unbiased group of people to...
Especially with the labelling as well.
That's what I mean. Like, I wonder how many people... I wonder if we can get that info. How many people we use to do the labelling and do the ranking and sort of iteratively go through...
because it's a question, because they're worth $20 billion at the minute, OpenAI, and they've been in bed with Microsoft since 2019. We'll get into Microsoft's involvement with OpenAI because it's deepened further.
The last few months,
the last month, and also the waves that has within the space, i.e. Google, and like how they're shitting the pants. And we'll go into that a bit later because I think
ponying in Liverpool, it's called having a pony.
Having a pony.
They're ponying their kegs.
So we kind of give what ChatGPT is.
So that's the little overview.
Kind of the model behind it. We'll put a link to the website below if you can get on it. Try to do it at a not peak time because
you'll never get on.
You'll never get on it.
And we'll drop some links as well, so if people want to look further into the algorithm.
Yeah, so we've done some reading round about some websites which put together like easy to read and stuff in it. But as we said, we want to talk about specifically to this chatbot that anyone can access at the moment for free on the internet. Like, we talked about the model, but as I say, I've said it numerous times so far, but I want to hand it home that as far as we're not experts in how it works.
We are not reinforcement learning experts.
No.
By any stretch of imagination.
So then I want to get into kind of where we come into it. It's like, I personally think this technology, whether it be ChatGPT or another version of it, is going to change. I'm going to use it with everything.
Oh, lads, and I remember...
And I mean, I don't think that's a hot take. I've not discovered something there.
No.
Like,
but I remember a few weeks ago, lads, so Ryan rang me about 4 weeks ago.
This is what I was going to get on to
before. Back to that, yeah. So you rang me about 4 weeks ago and was like, lad, get on Zoom, come and have a look at this.
It was about 9 at night, 9,
this
10 at
website
night.
that's just opens up for public use. It's a chatbot. And he didn't say much more than that, so I was like, oh, fucking hell, Ryan. It was like 9:30 at night. I was tired.
I went, lad, are you at your PC? And you went, no, I'm in bed. And I went, get out of bed.
And lads, and I to be fair, I thought, lads, I'm not getting out. And I was going to text him and just say, lad, fuck off, I'm going to bed. And then I just thought, I'll go ahead, it's only early. So I went and had a look, got on the computer with him. And he's standing there and he went, he sent me some text and it was from a paper that I knew he was writing. And we can discuss that in a few weeks. That'll be an interesting topic.
About like censorship and stuff.
About censorship, yeah. And he went, what, can you spell check this for me? Just check, make sure the grammar and it makes sense. I'm about to send it to my supervisor. And I was like, yeah, go ahead. So I had a little read through it and I was like, lad, that's fucking awesome, man. Yeah, that sounds class. The results, yeah, makes sense as well. And I was asking him about it and he went, yeah, it's not mine. And I went,
I couldn't believe it.
And I went, this Evans, is it? And he went, no, this fucking website wrote it.
I went, I've
spent 4 months doing a paper and this boss has written it up in 10 minutes. Well,
like the generic stuff.
The generic text, like, you know, what censorship is. It was more eloquent and more informed.
It was
than Ryan
it just came out with it and I was like, it's just done that instantly. And I was like, Sam, an AI wrote that. And he went, lad, stop fucking winding me up, it's 10 PM. And I went, no, Sam, an AI.
And then we started fucking about, asking it to do all sorts.
We were trying to write songs and everything.
Yeah, we were trying to write songs in the style of Snoop Dogg, trying to write a new hit, man, writing songs in the style of Adele. But we tested loads. We were like, let's get it to write up some code, let's get it to do this model, let's get it to write a poem, let's get it to write a story, let's get it to write a journal, and everything we threw at it, we were like, this just spits back a great answer.
And that's what I mean. It's like this podcast, it will be late to the party on ChatGPT for the people who know about it.
Yeah.
But for the people potentially who are listening who don't know, just
go and have a go.
Please go. I implore you. So whatever field you work in, I think this will have wide-reaching effects. So on that vein, we talked like we blush over it. We think it's insane, the technology that's coming out of it, and more importantly, which we'll get into a bit later, because AI grows at an exponential rate, i.e. it'll come quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. What is this technology look like in 2 years? It's going to be perfect.
In 10, in 20.
Not even a year, 2 year, 3 year. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So there are lots and lots of benefits, but there are also drawbacks to it. So we want to basically just go into and discuss them and have a longer debate on like those applications of ChatGPT type thing.
So I can start off with just some of the benefits I've had, right? Like, just something simple down to, so I'm coding all at the moment for my PhD, and just getting a simple error message that a few months ago I'd have to either figure it out for myself, go on Stack Overflow, be searching around Google to look for an answer at someone who's done a similar bit of the code, and I can literally now copy and paste the code, what I've got an issue with, into the chatbot, and just literally don't even have to ask it a question, and it will either refine it for me or say, there's problems with this code, you know, I've now adjusted it, or I can ask it, I seem to be having a problem with line 10.
Yeah.
Can you identify why, you know, this piece of code isn't doing this? And it literally rewrites the code for you with the new, you know, without the error that you've told it exists, and you paste it back into your coding software and it runs it. I was coding hard at the time, but
I have a similar story. So I was working with a language called MySQL, which is to do with storing data in databases, if you've not used it, like relational databases. And I come from a background where I did work as a business intelligence analyst, so that's just SQL all the time, working with databases.
Yeah.
And I had to do something where I had to filter by columns, not by rows, because normally when you search a table, you'll go, select me all the values that have a value in this column equal to 3, and you'll get like so many rows back. But I wanted to select the number of columns, right? And to do that, you have to use something called dynamic SQL, which I've never used before. I mean, I didn't even know it was a thing until I knew someone who showed me that it was a thing, who'd been used SQL for years. I just typed it into ChatGPT. I went, boom, write me an dynamic SQL script that does this.
Yeah.
And then I just adapted what it did to use my table names and stuff and make it so it fitted my context, because it wasn't correct. It was correct in that the syntax was correct, but it was
some variable names you need to adjust.
Again, to people who don't know what syntax means, it means like the way you type out the code for a specific language. In this context, anyway. All that was right. It was just obviously the table names and what it was asking for was wrong. Changed it, worked straight away, and it genuinely would have saved me about a week.
But that's so good as well for learning, because rather than having to scour the internet, how do you code in dynamic SQL? You can literally ask for an example on ChatGPT. It will give you one, and you can even ask it, can you comment it up and explain to me what this code does? Like, what's a better teaching tool than getting a bot to show you how it's coded and explaining what every line of the code means for then you to investigate and get into it. But talking about that, lads, I asked it to create a clustering algorithm and use an example data set with the variable name, and it used the variable name that I'd asked it to use. And as you say, I just had to adjust a few things, but
just copy and paste your code in then.
Lad, but it was even using the variable name I'd asked it to use. So if you want to avoid like all the change, you can say, can you use the variable names, X, Y, Z, and it literally is.
But I think what we're highlighting here more generally is one of the huge benefits of this. Like, to support it into like a parent category is like the optimization of workflows. Like, it's going to change everyone's workflow. Like, it will. There is no question on that. Like, you can now use this to change parts of your day which are so tedious. It takes up like days at a time. You can just ask this to do it for you. So like, there's an example online. This is a really popular example. So it was a guy, and he had one of his clients was I think it was gardening he did, but his literacy was poor, like dead poor. So we'd lose clients because like his emails would be like, "Hi, work start next week." Like, it's not English. Like, genuinely, it's not English. I mean, totally. The words are English, but like it was poor literacy. So what he did instead is he coded up an application where the guy typed what he was going to say in his like what he could type
in ChatGPT.
Yeah, and then ChatGPT would automatically create an email. So he'd type in, "Work start next week. I come round. Thanks."
Yeah.
And then the email would be like, "Hi, customer. Really looking forward to starting to work with you." Flesh out a full coherent email, which would then automatically send, because the guy wasn't tech illiterate, obviously, and it'd automatically send to the customers.
That's nuts, man.
So it literally improved that guy's business straight away.
Well, it stopped him having to worry about his emails and that, and now he looks professional. But I've seen loads of examples. I've seen people who sell products on like Amazon or like online sellers. They might be selling shoes, perfume, whatever. And the amount of time that it took them to write up a bio for a product or to advertise that product, and now like there was one girl on Twitter who was seeing, who was getting ChatGPT to write up product descriptions, saying like, "Can you explain
XYZ product,
this light bulb?" And because the light bulbs existed for the last 10 years, ChatGPT, this light bulb has a blah blah blah, it lasts for this long, and she was just inserting those and all those like
insane, isn't it?
All those boring admin tasks that you don't want to have to do. And like, she just avoided completely. And like, she was saying what used to take her 5 hours to list maybe 20 products, was taking her an hour. Yeah. Because it was as quick as getting ChatGPT. So they're like some of the main benefits. Like the big one we're getting at is just how it can streamline your workflow.
And also how conversational it is. Like, it's not like when you speak to it, you just get...
It's not like you're getting a robot, is it?
No, you're getting a conversational answer, which you can then ask further questions on about what it's returned. Yeah. And it's very easy to work with. However, so that's like the main drawback. And at the minute, it's free, but it's going to cost money. Yeah, so the main benefit. But then getting into the drawbacks of this technique, which is where I have to hold myself back, because sometimes I get very guilty of like, that's fucking class.
Yeah, like running. Yeah,
that is amazing.
No, I have noticed this with Ryan. If it's like ML or AI based and it's like new, he loves to champion it, and he's the main cheerleader for anything like this.
But also, you've got to remember, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. They're out to be pro.
I didn't know if when they first opened, it was all open source and non-profit organisation.
Yeah.
When OpenAI first, because it was started with Elon Musk.
He was a partner, wasn't he?
And it was it was non-profit, and the last few years
they've
Elon
changed
left,
it, haven't they?
and they've changed it to, you know.
But so there are obviously drawbacks with that, like they're going to do things for profit. So again, a drawback: it's free at the minute. Definitely not going to stay free. I think it probably shouldn't stay free, but it shouldn't be expensive. I mean, well, there's a minefield in itself. Should it stay free? Should it not stay free? But anyway, the drawback is it's not going to.
No
we've
way.
just seen an example of it. Then they've already, like, this is new to us.
Shit, yeah.
So we just googled it then because we were going to ask it to write a poem about me and Sam drinking beer in here.
I'm going to ask it to write a song.
Yeah,
having another attempt at that hitmaker. No, but when Ryan went on it, it was asking for money. It was saying if because of the high traffic at the moment, you know, we're going off subscription base for £20 a month.
Yeah, so what you find is, like what I said earlier, like, use it at not peak time. Like when you go on to use it at these times, you can't get on. And basically you could see you can use ChatGPT Plus, where you pay £20 a month and you get priority access and stuff. Yeah. So these paid tiers are coming in, whether you like it or not. And these people now who've become so dependent on it business wise because they adopted it early.
Oh, they're gonna...
Like it's the shortest application ever to get to 1 million users.
Lads, I've seen that. It was comparing it to like Tumblr,
Instagram. No, what is it? TikTok took 9 months to get to 1 million
recently as well,
users.
Wasn't it? Last few years.
ChatGPT took 2 months. If it was that, I think it was.
And now that you've mentioned it, lad, you've just said that all them people and those examples of given, like people, you know, online sellers, bloggers, you know, whatever it may be, the application you were using, you've had it free for 2 months, and obviously it's only subscription at high traffic
for
times
now.
At the moment. But say in a month's time, if it does go subscription based, they've already got you because they know that you want their bot, man, for the speed. So that's you know, that's a big drawback. Is all of a sudden you're getting 20, 30 at £10 subscription base on you to speed. Now, it might be worth it for you in your business, but
eventually I don't think they're doing that. I think they're doing a cost per pull, so a cost per query.
Like, query, yeah.
So a cost per search, and if that comes into the equation, they could go through the roof. You never know.
Using it 1,000 times a day, even £1 is £1,000.
That's what, even at 10p, £100 a day on a business.
Oh, that's nuts.
And when you think about it, say for example, Google at the minute has 8 billion searches a day.
So if it got to that level, well, yeah.
if they charged a penny per search,
yeah.
I mean, they'd be making £8 billion a day.
That gets into the ethics of it, which we're going to get to, doesn't it?
Another benefit, another drawback is, so again, whilst I've been a champion of its ability to come out and tell you all these wonderful things, it is also really happy to tell you these wonderful things, even if they're not technically right.
Yeah, it proper stands with shoulders broad, claiming the truth, man, claiming gospel. And if you aren't sharp enough and you don't take a bit of precaution using it, you will just copy and paste it and copy and paste BS pretty much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I've seen it where I can ask it stuff and I know what it's told me is not right.
And that's, as you say, because it's been trained on Reddit columns, been trained on...
It's just been trained on everything, and it's just, if it's not seen that particular thing before, it can be incorrect.
Yeah.
Like, I saw an example where it said a kilogram of something was heavier than a kilogram of something else.
Yeah, so that's bollocks, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
So you do need to, like...
Stuff. It's good for us because we're using it very specifically on the... I mean, I use it for fun for a lot of things, but... because that's how I spend my evenings.
Because after 6 p.m, that's what I do.
When I clock off, I roll my sleeves up and load of a ChatGPT. Yeah. But when I'm using it, like
using it temperamentally,
and I use it like in an area which I believe I'm quite well versed in.
Yeah.
So like when I've used it to help potentially like to narrow down search options for something, say if I'm writing something up, I'm like, can you just summarize this so I know where to go and look?
And you know if it's wrong.
I know straight away, kind of, so I used it for some hyperparameter tuning when I was typing up about them. I kind of knew how they work. I couldn't really be asked on search for the references.
That's the same thing. I used it like that.
One of the searches that came through, sorry to jump in, I knew straight away. I was like, that's weird. Regenerated it and I was like, that seems more sensible. I can verify that and back that up.
Well, I had problems with it, so very similar thing. I was writing up a report and I was looking over the topic of chronic illnesses, and I just got it to summarise what one of these illnesses was, and it put some references in the text for me. And when I had to look at that reference, the reference didn't really say what it was referencing. It did loosely, but if you'd have used that in your report, you might, if someone checked that reference, they'd be you've stressed it out a bit there. So obviously it's pulling from information and not telling you exactly where it's got everything from.
And again, that leans into another one of its drawbacks again. So it's like, there are lots and lots of drawbacks to this, which on the surface, when you just look at what it can do, which is what I alluded to before, I got very sucked in with it. You start peeling it back, there's a lot of drawbacks to it. Another one, it doesn't live search from the internet. Yeah. So everything was, so all the data it was trained on and developed with was up to 2021, I believe. I'm not sure when, but 2021. So it can't get fresh information from the internet, and recent stuff it doesn't know at all.
Is that coming now? Is internet?
It will be.
Yeah.
It will be, aye.
So, for example, if you wanted to know about the Ukraine war, or you're knackered because it started.
Basically, yeah, but then it might give false information about that because it doesn't know. So there's another drawback of it. Which
or
potentially
it might pull to an older Ukraine war.
Yeah,
like Crimea or something, and then people might take that as that's gospel about 2022, and so there's low. That's one of the issues as well. Is it was trained on data, before, and then 2022.
One of the biggest ones, I suppose, is how it handles political and the biases it will inevitably have from a human trained piece of software.
This leans into the ethics, which you also which I suppose is we can get onto is me and Ryan. When we were looking at ChatGPT, it was like, okay, how do we approach this topic? And
because it is sensitive.
It's sensitive, and there's a lot of examples online where, and even me and Ryan were testing it ourselves. We got some problems with it. But for example, if you ask it to write a poem about one political candidate and then write an exact same poem about another political candidate, not naming names, but it pretty much creates two different poems based on a public narrative that may be true or may not be true, but I'm not sure that was the intended use of the AI bot.
Because basically they put stops in place to stop this hurtful comments and stop it giving out dangerous information. But with it being such an open-ended technology, i.e. you can type in what you want. Yeah. You can't account for every...
That's it, innit?
So like someone asked, for example... it's not funny. It's kind of funny, but it's not funny. Someone asked for a cooking recipe to build a Molotov cocktail.
And it worked! Someone... It's mad.
And it's not funny. Like... It's not funny. It's terrible, but like it's also quite funny.
But then who decides what... That's the whole ethical conundrum in it. Is like who decides what it can say and what it can't say.
No, of course.
And even like going back to the political side of things, when people are asking it questions about different political candidates from different countries, if it does give a load of negative information about someone, like is that not defamation of that person's character? Like where's it got the info from? Obviously it's got it from trained data.
Unless you can prove actual sources.
But you can't prove exactly, so like
eventually it will pull from the internet.
But that's one of you cannot have a chatbot given a real negative aspect of someone and a real positive aspect of someone else when they may be both going up for political candidacy in an area.
Yeah,
because so biased. Maybe if it's a historical figure who we know has been bad or good, and like their history is well cemented.
But like, are you talking about like current?
Like in a current time, if two candidates were going.
Well, no,
for
but we see that
offers.
We see that anyway at the minute whereby
the media,
like not even that, just like stuff on Twitter, like people stormed, say, the Capitol building in America over people spreading what they wanted about one particular political party, and it's like. That stuff's dangerous when humans do it.
So God knows
what can be done when you let a piece of tech that can scour the internet and basically come out with these conversational.
And that's, I suppose, like obviously this technology is going to get better and better, but it is putting a lot of. If this company is the only sort of like Google was an early search engine, but they are pretty much nowadays. the only search engine.
90% market
there's
share.
There's other ones
have.
out there. So say if OpenAI, they've started off as one of they're not the first chatbot, but one of the most usable and user-friendly chatbots.
What their one does,
well.
what their one does is different to.
Exactly. So my point is, if
so
they,
far.
monopolised and ended up being the Google equivalent in 10 years' time, there's a lot of power then in that company's hands, and they've got a lot of responsibility, like Twitter and Facebook do, to navigate a social landscape and a social rubric to ensure that people are given a fair bite of the cherry with information.
Yeah. Like, as we've said, like, there was an example we saw and we tested it ourselves just to double check, where it was people had asked it, what makes a good engineer?
Oh, yeah.
Write a piece of code that, based on someone's race and gender, determines if it's a good, it will be a good engineer. And it came out with, like, what was it? If white and if male,
if
then
white
good.
And if
then good. If not, then.
And obviously it's probably pulling from.
But no, to be fair, we tested that a few times and it did come out with different combinations.
But that's worrying
because it's random. But I suppose the root problem there is no race and no gender combination is specific. Like, they're not correlated to. Well, they're definitely not correlated to whether someone's going to make a good engineer. It's the question should have been, are you interested in engineering?
Yeah.
If yes, then you can try to be good engineering. Yeah. If not, probably not.
Maybe it's pulling from data of, as of 2021, what's the largest demographic of engineers.
But it could just be anything.
Exactly,
and then you've got the biases of what people put into it. Like, there's countless examples of machine learning where biases get run rampant. Yeah. So,
like the Google problem with the image recognition.
Then you had what the American police were using. There's been loads of examples with dermatology where all the skin conditions are on white skin, not dark or black skin. There's loads of these examples. And do I think ChatGPT is immune from these examples? No.
and that's going back to, OpenAI having that power.
They will not be.
It's almost an unbearable responsibility to.
Of course it is, because then how do you hire enough people to have enough input in the model to have no biases?
Exactly. Or how do you vet out? So the more
people who have biases,
the more people you get, the more unbiased you could say the model becomes. But then the more people you get, the more chance you've got to recruit
it's
people
an unfortunate
with nefarious intention.
It's an unfortunate truth that horrible people exist.
Yeah,
so the more people you hire, the probability you hire a horrible person,
someone with a nefarious intention,
it also increases because, as you say, these systems people put in place to stop horrible people getting hired obviously don't work.
And then,
do you know what I mean?
And then, so what we're talking about then, like the political problem, where that's just one example. But you were saying media's always done that, and Twitter's always done that. But there's also the problem, which I've heard people talking about, of like deep fakes and like people pretending to be experts. And then if you're an expert in a topic,
that's another ethical
problem.
We've talked at length about this one.
And I get it, like if you're an expert in machine learning or, I don't know, cancer treatment, if someone tries to pretend they're an expert in person, you'd quickly be able to riddle that they are not an expert. Yeah. But behind the facade of social media, so for example, in a pandemic,
anyone can be anyone.
When you're trying to get the best information from the correct Twitter accounts or the correct social media accounts, 5 years ago, only experts really who were well versed on literature, who had access to academic databases, could perpetuate information which made sense. But as you've seen, as social media sort of grew, people are getting more and more access to info who aren't necessarily experts. And listen, everyone's entitled to an opinion. But what happens when people are pretending in the next pandemic or the next big global issue to be an expert on it because they've got ChatGPT helping them, a future version of it, and perpetuating stuff which could be true or not, because we know ChatGPT sometimes makes a mistake.
The problem with this specific issue is that this is an issue that already exists and hasn't had a solution to it. Like, you can't.
Definitely not.
The people, like these social media companies, still haven't been able to stop fake and false news being perpetuated. So how, as you say, imagine if someone with a couple of grand decides to just pay for ChatGPT and loads of bots to spam out Twitter accounts saying the same type of stuff.
Oh, yeah. even creating new people or pretending to be.
So
people
then,
that
so
already
then the thing
exist.
is, so you have the onus that's always been on social media. Then you have the onus on OpenAI to stop this type of fake news. But then it's hard to stop the
it's
fake
an unbearable
news.
responsibility.
Of course it is.
Like,
It's insane.
I almost feel sorry for them, and you know that they've got that responsibility to now dictate what is allowed and what isn't allowed, because you're always going to have throwback.
No matter where you put the threshold, like there's a very obvious place to put the threshold. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's obvious. You kick out the racist. You kick out all the terrible
But as
people.
you say, there's places that aren't. There's areas that aren't that easy to.
No, and then as you say, then as you start moving the threshold, it's like, where do you put it? And you're always going to annoy other people.
You're always
so
it
is
people,
hard.
and so that's some of the ethical drawbacks that we think are important to mention.
So so those were all kind of linked to kind of the same overall topic, but another kind of ethical. It's not so much ethical; it's more the application of and how it's going to affect. But it is kind of ethical is education, because me and you've had we've talked about this at length.
Like, so I'll just start off. The other day seen it was in the Guardian. A school in New York straight up just banned ChatGPT because so many students, even within its first few weeks of release, and we'll put the Guardian link in the bio of this podcast, or whatever you're listening to on YouTube, Spotify. They banned it because so many students in essays and courseworks were just straight up using it.
But like, I've got a question. If you were in school now, would you be using it?
Lads, I'm fully using it. I'm using it now. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but like now I use it responsibly.
But how do you stop a 13?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If I was in school, would I be using it responsibly? Would I shite? I would put every single question I ever got asked into the fucking thing and just copy and paste the output.
It's not just essays. I've seen a video of a guy on Twitter, a student, putting his maths exam questions in. Like A-level exam questions. They were multiple choice, so it said, is it A, B, C or D? The ChatGPT calculated it, showed you it's working, and then saying, therefore, the answer's B, which is... But as you say, if I was 13, asking 13-year-old Sam, do you want to do it yourself, Sam? And figure it all out.
Or do you want to get 80% of it done by a computer and you have to tweak it?
And you still get, like, and we know school is, you know, it's all based on what grades you get. And if something is helping you get those grades, you don't care, man. You're just going to use it.
You do what you do to get the grades. And then this opens up the whole thing in education is it memory or is it learning? But then that's a whole other debate for a...
But how do you solve that though then? Right?
So I saw one thing on Twitter. It's on Twitter. Do you know what I mean?
That means it's true.
Don't chop my head off, sir. But someone had took a picture of like a Turnitin thing, and again, no man, look, this will probably someone has disproved this as false by the time I talked about it. Well, I've seen it, so I'll talk about it. It was like AI. This. It was some. I'm paraphrasing. I'll get my words out at some point. This essay was likely written with an AI generator or ChatGPT.
Okay.
Therefore, you'll get 0 because they were able to detect it was AI generated, and then someone was like, "I can't believe I've been clocked."
So that was on Twitter.
Yeah.
On Turnitin.
I don't know if it was Turnitin, but
something
like, you know, where you submit it and then it goes through. So then that is a solution. I mean, as we've said, there will no doubt now be researchers putting grants together to be a ChatGPT buster.
A counter, but
yeah,
that's the thing, no, isn't it?
100%.
Every time there's a new, iteration of ChatGPT, there needs to be more iterations of a counter to that, and there's always going to be windows and months of overlap where maybe the counter isn't as optimized as the new.
But the issue we've got now is that this technology is out of the box. It's like the whole thing with like the Pandora's box. This technology's out there now.
It's gone, man. Yeah, it's out there. You can't.
So your choice is we either do nothing. So there's three choices. I'll get there in the end. It's like that Gary Neville meme. He's like, it's 96, 97, 98, 99, 99.
That's when you recall him what year you did something. 94, 95, 96, 97.
That's me. I'll go, I did something last week. No, I didn't. It was 6 months ago. I'll always say last week. Anyway, so there's three choices really. The way I've been thinking about it, there's three choices. We either do nothing, except that students have now got this new tool, right? Fucking that happens, and then we wait for governments to reform the whole education system. That's obviously not
to adjust to
that's
ChatGPT.
obviously not the correct approach, because governments take absolutely fucking years to do anything. So
there's going to be about 10 years of kids who get free grades.
Then it'll be change the type of questions you'll ask.
Yeah.
So that ChatGPT becomes ineffective.
Yeah.
Or 3, develop these other softwares that can counter it. So, for example, on that second point I just made about the different types of questions, I was watching a video by 60. I think it's 60 Symbols. Are you familiar with it?
No.
So it's like this physics YouTube page where it covers stuff quite quick and they go over it. It's like a nice informal way to kind of watch stuff, talk about physics. No, it's just like an overall. So it doesn't teach you.
It doesn't teach. Okay.
It's more just like talking. Are you familiar with Numberphile?
Yeah. Like that. Okay.
I think it's the similar people who make it. So a guy was basically going through like different levels of physics papers, and putting it into ChatGPT. But what the physics questions were on the paper was more interpret this picture. A lot of them were like interpret what's on the page, right? So that automatically rules out ChatGPT because there's no image recognition functionality.
Yeah, but what happens when that comes?
Well, again, we'll get into that.
So you're just backstepping the exams a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yes, but what I'm trying to say is like having this interpretability thing is great. But then also we asked it questions where it got the right answer, but the fundamental physics behind the description of the answer was totally bollocks.
Yeah.
So it was something to do with harmonic moments, like a pendulum.
Yeah.
And it was basically saying that at the top of a pendulum, it has the most kinetic energy. So, no, the point of maximum displacement is where it has the most kinetic energy. Well, that's obviously bollocks, because the most kinetic energy is when it's moving and it has 0 displacement. So it was going through basically saying, look, if someone had copied this answer, they'd have got the right answer, but they'd got 0 marks. Because the physics, what they've cited, is absolute horseshit. Yeah. So, I think that's a solution, but I think the genuine solution is...
I agree. I think...
It's somewhere between all 3.
No, it is somewhere between all 3. You need the whole education system to alter,
to update.
You need exams and how we assess kids to be altered, which I think is the fastest solution. Like you can get individual institutions, a university making alterations to their exams rather than having to go through.
If another company builds a ChatGPT buster, how much they charge? But then
there's also, that gets back to ethics. If there does end up being a fee on it, and we're just like talking semantics here of what could happen, if there is a fee on ChatGPT, then the counter bot, there's also a fee on that. Well then, if your institution or your school's not paying for it, kids or adolescents who can afford to use the bot might get better answers.
Well, and then I suppose there's another ethical question as well. Is when ChatGPT gets paid for, because we're getting in. I saw this online. On a guy called Cold Fusion, his video, we put this in a way. And I was like, because I'm going to go into one of his videos later about the Microsoft thing, because I watched it before. It's a really good video summarising everything. And what he said, basically, he was like, we're moving from the information age, which is what we've got now, where you can go on search links, to the knowledge age, where you will have this thing where you can go on and it teaches you, it summarises everything that you could search for. But then imagine if that's then put behind a paywall, so then the smart kids have this knowledge software.
The rich kids, you mean?
What did I say?
Behind the paywall, the smart kids.
Yeah. That one.
The rich kids.
So the rich kids who already have been shown in literature, whether they start off, so it's something like, isn't it like, if the richer kid you are, you can start off academically less, but then overshoot due to money anyway. It's already been shown rich kids.
Yeah, that's right.
They're going to have access to a knowledge software, and poorer students from poorer areas aren't. So there's another massive ethical implication of it.
And you talking about moving from the information age to the knowledge age. I would mention this to you the other day. I always think about when I was doing my undergrad degree. You always had lecturers who'd say to you like,
back in my day,
back in the 90s, you don't know how easy it is you have now. You just go to the library, you get on the computer, you get on your laptops, you go on Google and look for articles, journals, references, and within a few hours you can reference up a whole, you know, piece of text or get a whole essay together. He said back in my day, or she'd say back in my day, you'd have to go to the library, you'd have to manually search the aisles for the books and the journals you're looking for. You'd spend a few hours collecting 10, 20, 30.
Yeah.
You'd go to your seat, you'd have to go
You'd
through
read.
them. It wouldn't have the information you'd want. And if something doesn't have all the information you want, you just exit off and do the search again.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, oh shit,
We're
in
going
about
to say the
20
same
years'
thing.
time, I'm going to be going to a kid who's don't know how lucky you've got it. Back in my day,
We had to
I used
search
to have
links,
to manually
click.
go on Google and type in and check links and read the whole article. And now you just say, can I have this summarised? And it spits knowledge back at you. And I'm sure they're going to be saying something to their future generations about, you know, we only had ChatGPT, you've got ChatGPT 2 million, you know, whatever the new iteration is at the time.
But it is, it's insane, isn't it?
It's nuts.
But like, it will affect. So we spoke specifically, like, we went from the ethics to the education because they link quite hand in. Well, there's a lot of subjects you can link back into the ethics. I think education's a big one where it'll get noticed quickly, but there'll be a lot of other jobs which are going to be made obsolete by this. And I think there's another ethical implication again, is what do we do?
There's already loads of jobs which have gone because of AI.
Yeah, and as this develops, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So I think the companies do have a responsibility to
do it slowly, or
not even do it, but help because they know which industries they're replacing.
Yeah,
because it's fairly obvious as you go through. What can my now chatbot do? It can do this, right? That's going to make that job obsolete.
But that's easy to say, isn't it? Though it's easy to say, listen, because that's the problem with most of AI at the moment. It's not replacing highly skilled individuals, or I mean, it is. In ChatGPT, you're getting rid of a lot of coders, to be honest. Who, you know, but for example, with the automated vehicles, you're getting rid of a load of middle-aged people who are in the 40s, 50s, 60s, who've done that job for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, and you've got rid of them to an automated vehicle. And now you're an AI company who's displaced those people by working on self-driving cars. Now it's your responsibility to take this large mass of people who are nearly at retirement age and try and adjust them to something for the last 10 years of work. I mean, it's easy to say these people should be adjusted, how do you take a 55-year-old man who's drove a truck for the last 30 years, tell him, right, we've got a piece of AI self-driving car doing it, you haven't got one, but listen, we're going to offer you these other 5 things. Like, firstly, they might not want to do that, and that's something you've got to consider. It's not, imagine if someone come up to you and say, oh, you know that PhD you're working on, we're getting a robot to do it. I know you've been doing it for 3 years, but can you go and find something else? Here's the other 3 options.
No,
like, fuck you, man.
No, of course you do.
I want to do that. That's my job. You know
but then I mean?
But you can't regress. You can't stop AI.
But then obviously, it's the whole thing of people used to sell ice to make outdoor ice.
And there's always going to be that time period where you are displacing people, and it's a huge issue. And then 30 years later, the new thing's in, and you know, unfortunately, they've been forgot about. But it still doesn't take away the fact that in the moment, it's massively distasteful for these people to
I've not got an answer to that.
Not neither have I.
No, I know, but it's that to me, that's another huge one.
Yeah,
that comes in, falls under the same thing as education. It's like, how do these industries and sectors adjust?
Is it the responsibility of the company? Is it the responsibility of government to work with these companies?
But
do you put that power in?
But as we live in a capitalist society, if someone said to you, you can run your company now exactly the way you've got it.
Yeah.
But cut your wage bill down by 75%.
Cut the labour costs, yeah.
Everyone's going to cut the labour costs.
No, I know. So that's what I mean. Whose responsibility is it?
In my opinion, everyone watching, that's mental. No one should do that. But then...
But people do.
People, it's seen all the time. But yeah, so to finish on a more... I was about to say chirpy, but it's a more relevant note, so we'll go from ethics to talk about how ChatGPT is actually changing the landscape of the internet as we know it at the minute. So this is where we come back to Microsoft's involvement with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT owned by OpenAI. Before I get into this, actually, this was taken from a Cold Fusion video. Summarised it amazing. I'll give it a shout out. It's called Google Panics over ChatGPT. If you want to go watch that video.
Nice non-anxiety driving title. Google
no,
Panics.
But it is, lad. And it's, when you actually get into the weeds.
When you deep it, as me and Ryan
as you deep it, it's you should be shit in the pants. But go check out that video if you're more interested and you want the full thing. Got to give credit where it's due because it was an amazing video. But yeah, so Microsoft and OpenAI have an alliance since like 2019 where they invested $1 billion to get them going. Recently, they invested a further $10 billion when OpenAI come out.
10 billion, shit, man.
Under the guys that they get 70% of the revenue until they get the 10 billion back, then they have a 49% ownership.
Okay.
Right? So
that's the deal.
This is big. So Microsoft now have access to OpenAI, which have own ChatGPT, which is fucking massive.
Which is the best.
They have that DALL-E 2,
language
which
process
is
at the moment.
Text generation to images.
I've seen that where you can say, paste me a monkey on a bike on top of a cloud.
Doing backflips.
And it creates an image. So they put that as well.
OpenAI own that.
Yeah.
Now Microsoft own 49% of that company.
As well, yeah.
So, going back to why Google is shitting their pants.
Knackers, as we call it.
Google's whole business, 65% of Google's revenue comes from Google searches. You know, you have all the ads that pop up when you search. You have to scroll through a flat website. Right. And they own 90% of the market share when it comes to people who search on the internet. 90%.
Yeah. We were talking about that before, weren't we?
Bing, 9%. However, what Microsoft want to do with this new partnership with OpenAI is introduce ChatGPT into Bing's search engine. So then what it'll be is, instead of you searching into Google, scrolling through different links, opening them up, finding whatever you fucking want and consolidate everything in a summary, you type in your question into Bing and it does that for you.
And we'll show you the website it's got it from.
Synthesize all this information, put it into a summary from the website. And then, because it's the chatbot, you can dive in further on your question, or what about this, what about that? And you can get this history in the search. That is mental.
And obviously OpenAI have agreed to this because that's sort of what ChatGPT...
Microsoft now own 49% of it, so it's happening.
And that's what I'm saying, they've agreed to it because they're getting big investments that'll help improve the algorithm.
So, as you say, removes that need to scroll and look through links. And the reason that destroys Google's business model, because you can't sell ads. You can't sell ads on a fucking webpage. No one's going to look at. What advertiser's going to buy that?
Yeah. Well, even if the users reduce 10-20%, the knock-on effects that has on...
Yeah.
Because all ads are paying for is, we want you to put this in front of 1 million people, 10,000 people. You're just giving eyes to these products.
So Google issued internally a red alert, like, this is bad. Got the old owners of the people who originally created Google to come back in. Like, it's been a mad thing that's happened recently.
It's like that.
We're filming this at the start of Feb, by the way, so if it gets released later on down the line.
Just when you said that red alert, it's making me thinking of the US Office episode, and there's a fire, and he goes, everybody calm down. Everybody calm down.
Stay fucking calm.
Stay fucking calm. Every man for themselves. And like runs away. That's the Google Office.
That's what I've got, like someone sliding down the slide in the middle. Stay calm.
That's nuts when you're deeper. If Bing, rather than having to manually go through a search, it will do it for you, and then you can start feeding it more questions to help refine that search.
And OpenAI have got that DALL-E 2, and they're also working on video generation as well to go with the image generation. So imagine if they incorporate that again within Bing search.
Nuts.
Wipes Google off the face of the earth. But Google are fighting back. They've got over 20 AI projects on the go. They're working on their own ChatGPT.
Get on Ryan here, by the way, with all these little snippets of info.
They've got their own ChatGPT competitor internally called Apprentice Bard.
That's already shit.
That's fucking off.
Apprentice what?
Apprentice Bard.
Apprentice Bard.
I don't want to use that. So they're working on a ChatGPT competitor along with 20 other AI projects. Here's one you'll find interesting. It's called Music LM. So the idea will be like you can hum or like think you whistle a tune.
Yeah.
Specify a style of music, and it'll create like a piece of music from you humming and you whistling and stuff.
What you can say, like, can I have this drum style, this style of bass
Yeah,
line,
like if you like you hum a
keys,
song and stuff. Yeah.
sang by a high pitched singer or something.
Yeah. So Google are working on stuff like that. So Google are trying to fight back, and they will have
that's
to.
when you said before that Google are dead. Google, they might be, but I feel like there's such a big organisation.
With their 90% market share, they'll come out fighting hard.
Yeah.
But for them to have panicked that much about this, like for me, I will move to Bing.
Yeah.
That is a fact. Because
I will, but just talking from a proper childish point of view, that fucking Bing logo, man. Whenever I've got on Bing, I use Bing to search for Google.
And also, Bing will never become a fucking verb. Oh yeah, lad, just Bing it.
No, I know, lad. That's what I'm saying. I use Google Chrome, but if I ever unfortunately end up on Bing, first thing I do is type in Google to get Google.
But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of bring this whole topic up, just to be like, this isn't just like an academic thing we're using. This is serious. That's going to be.
It's going to change the internet.
It's going to change the internet.
But Google is the internet, lads.
And it's going to change it for everyone. It's going to be in front of people's faces.
Fucking, well, as you say, Google. I mean, unless you were about 25, 30 years ago using it, as soon as Google become established, Google is the internet, man. Like,
no, it is.
I mean, I know it's technically not, but like,
it is.
If people think of the internet, they think
Google.
of Google.
As you say, you Google it.
You Google it.
I Google everything.
No one bings it, man. Remember Ask Jeeves?
Lad, Ask Jeeves! And it was a little fella just stood there.
You'd say to him, like, and he'd like, I don't know why, he looked like he had a chef hat on or something.
Lad, he was mad him.
And then Yahoo search, lad, they all just never
a Google.
lived up.
But yeah, so.
But going on about like the music one, and we can end on this because we did one of the big things which like we're both big music fans. I'm in a band, Honey Motel, shout out, go get on us. But the one thing which, and I'm sure it's coming, is it's already there, creativity and AI, getting an AI to create a piece of art, piece of music. You've already got ChatGPT, albeit we've tested it, and I don't think they're up to par, like getting it to write lyrics. It can write some lyrics, but, you know, whether it would be as good as, you know, Alex Turner writing it, you know, or like an Adele tune, or, you know, I'm not sure it's got the lyrical capabilities of, you know, the new Harry Styles album or something like that, but it's got to start somewhere. And
it will get there.
Will, in 10 years' time, you know, there be a bunch of people who create music manually, and you've also got this market who are competing, who are, you know, artists who necessarily don't have to be talented at any instrument, or maybe they can just sing, or maybe, you know, you haven't even got to be able to sing.
It will generate the voice for you.
Generate the vocal. So all you've got to do is sort of know how to sort of
put a prompt in.
To prompt the algorithm to get the best piece of music, and then that music will blow up. But then who owns the music?
It's
does
mad,
the person who got the prompt or does then OpenAI own every piece of music?
It's fucking weird, like.
Then they're monopolising, and then it's just like it's part scary, to be honest.
No, it's like I'm proper for it, but I'm also massively fucking terrified at the same time.
I think with creativity as well, like, and it might just be this generation of humans. Although you could you might be able to create a great piece of music from OpenAI, or in the future if they're doing it, or this Google, what's it called?
Fucking.
Get the name of it.
I'm not going to say the name again because it pissed me off.
Yeah, it was AI generated music.
Apprentice Bard. Oh, that music one, Music LM.
Music LM. So even if it is creating amazing music, I think as soon as you tell someone, there's no one playing on this record,
it loses its.
The romanticism dies.
I tell you what it is. It'll be good for the first time you hear it.
You're impressed by it?
Like, going to a gig and watching 4 people on stage, 5 people, how many, whatever, pick up things that aren't making a sound. I mean, I know this is like...
No,
and then create something that can just...
There's something magical about it, man. And that romanticism of, like, human interaction, humans doing things with a piece of wood with strings on. You might get an AI bot to make a more perfect piece of music.
But there's something perfect about the imperfection of music.
There's something so perfect about, and even not just the music, to watch someone pick up a paintbrush and paint something by hand, even if you got an AI bot to do the exact same thing, the fact that someone did it and there's issues with it, but there's beauty in those issues,
of course.
I'm not sure if in a few generations, once people are more used to AI, that sort of romanticism with the naturalistic world fades, and they're more comfortable with, you know, an AI generated piece of art or AI generated piece of, you know, film or music. Are they more comfortable with that? But this current generation, I think we're more comfortable, especially once we get into
it'll take a long time to take off, I think, but I think it'll get there.
It will.
I hope I don't get to see it, because
I'm all for seeing a group of people on a stage, man,
just
that.
putting their emotions on something. Man.
But it's not just music, as I say, even film,
art, film, everything.
graphic design. Someone creating the fact that, you know, someone's created that logo.
Yeah,
and like Ryan's been working on stuff for this podcast. There's something just a bit more special, because, you know, he's put lots of time into it and got it to work. But if I thought a robot had done it, it instantly loses that gratitude I've got for the creation of it. It's like, well, it was just made.
I just did it.
Yeah, that's we can end there. I suppose it's a bit.
No, but yeah,
it's not like a bleak way to remember.
But it's a nice way to say, even though we blush and we love this ChatGPT and all the things coming, I think it's still got a long way to go to replace the romantic, imperfect beauty of the world, of the human world.
Sure, man.
And on that poetic ending, which I didn't think I was capable of.
I don't think you are.
No, neither do I. No, I'll listen to that back and I'll just spew everywhere. Right, we'll end that there. Episode 2 done. As I say, all the socials, we say it every time, they'll be in the description. They're at the start, they're at the end. Give us a follow. Let us know your thoughts on ChatGPT in the comments. We'll read as many as we'll try and reply. Let's get a conversation going, because I want to see how other people are using it as well, because that's what interests me, the application of it. But yeah, until the next one, see you next time.
Peace out, man.
Peace out.